Good morning, hello, and welcome. Today is February 4th, and you are watching the Viewscreen.
The Viewscreen is your weekly Star Trek magazine show streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. We've got lots of news, features, and a lot of love for our Star Trek family all around the world.
Now, if you're not able to watch us live and have fun here with everyone, please go to YouTube, watch the replay. And we also have it as a podcast if you want to listen to audio only.
We really do appreciate all of your support. So I would like to remind you all of the 287th rule of acquisition: subscribers equals profit. So please make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so that you never miss an episode.
Well, and welcome to our wonderful viewers. I can see we already have a few popping up in the chat. Please join us, pop in, say hi, share your comments and questions. Hi, Rashid. Wonderful to see you again. So we can interact with you. So say hello to us in the chat. So Kelvin, how's it going this week?
I'm glad we're in February. January was about 7 weeks long. So now I'm back on the alcohol after we've stopped all our cocktail sessions. So I've still got my little cup of tea this week, but yeah, all good. I had a very strange coincidence this week. We've got some friends visiting this weekend with James and I, and they gave us a belated Christmas present, and it was the new Star Trek cookbook that Matthew was going through last week. So
really?
we're good to go for Matthew's new show.
My goodness. Let's get cooking. That's exciting. And you're such a good chef that I'm sure you're going to enjoy that. Is there any recipes that you're like, I'm going to make this first?
Well, it may come as no surprise that I went straight to the drinks section at the back. And their version of a Klingon blood wine looks really good. Usually it's just a load of random stuff thrown into red wine, which makes it really bad. But this is quite intricate, so I'm going to give that one a go.
Okay, excellent.
And
Well,
how are you? How's your week been?
It's been good. Hello, Stephen. Well, as I know him as Text Trek. And Vegas neighbor, hi. Again, we got to figure out this Facebook thing so that I can see actually who it is.
Little shout out to our Facebook viewers. There is a little privacy setting, so you need to go to StreamYard.com and check a box somewhere, and that just affords it the ability to show your name so we know who we're talking to. Just have to do it just the once, not every episode.
Yeah. So, Rashid, thank you. I am wearing my Captain Proton shirt because there is, hopefully you can figure out the tie-in to today's show. It's not exact, as Kelvin pointed out.
Don't start criticizing me already, Amy. Well, in that case, shall we take a look and see what we've got coming up on today's Beta Canon themed episode?
Yes.
Okay, so returning with all the news and features and trending of the week, Kristin's here to tell us what's new. Hey.
And introducing Richard Marquez, a passionate authority on comics, here to tell us about a special edition.
And then finishing our Beta Canon journey, we would love to welcome Bruce Gibson, who's here previewing some of the upcoming novels being released this year.
Wow. So excited for today's Beta Canon.
I know, what another pack to go. Can't wait. Let's get going, shall we?
Yes, we shall.
Right, in that case, let's welcome back Kristin to the stage. Hello, my lovely. How are you?
Kristin. I'm good. How are you? Mwah. It's a lovely, snowy February morning here in British Columbia. I know we were just talking about how offended I am that the groundhog lied to us, saying we were going to get early spring, and here we are. Snow.
It does look beautiful and bright where you are. That room is also perfectly lit.
You know what's funny is my room has been dark for so long and I couldn't figure out why. And I changed the light bulbs a couple days ago and I was like, there we go. Who'd have thought?
Electricity does tend to do that.
Yeah. So, no, it's good. No, so happy to be back. Hi, Rashid. Oh, sweetheart, you're such a dedicated watcher. I love it.
I know. And we also have Tim Hands back with us. Hi, Tim.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, what is new this week, Kristin? What have you got for us?
Oh, well, new, I don't know, but we've got some pretty epic birthdays that have happened this past week. So first, of course, is Mr. Brent Spiner turned 75.
Wow.
Which is amazing. He looks so good for being mid-70s. Like, I wouldn't imagine that, but also it's, makes me sad. You want to just really see life sort of slow down a little bit, and just the idea that, as we start to, Anyway, I don't want to bum out everybody out first thing in the morning, but I was like, oh my gosh, Dana. So he is 75 years young. Yes. Age is
Absolutely.
just a concept. So,
yeah.
And then we have some pretty fun episode birthdays. So up on my slides, I had it's happy 26th to Who Mourns for Morn. This is one of my just feel good episodes. I remember watching this when I was quite young. And I was like, the tub scene, disgusting. Him spitting up the latinum at the end, disgusting. And I loved every minute of it. And I Morn for me is just such one of those characters that you always look for. And I love how he is an homage to Norm from Cheers. And he just sort of is everyone's favorite. And, it really showed how the cast came together after he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And how much he really did mean to them. And it's, don't wait till someone goes to tell them that you love them.
Yeah, what a great message. Can you believe it took till season 6, though, to get a Morn episode?
Whoa. It's true, Rashid. You know what? He couldn't be in another episode because he would just he would just take up the whole screen time. He would talk way too much. So, yeah. Also, this week, so not actually today. So today is actually the 26th birthday for Who Mourns for More. But this week, we also had the 30th birthday of Sub Rosa. So, which means I was 10 when I first watched this episode.
Oh my goodness.
Too young.
I don't think I would have understood what was happening, the subtext of Sub Rosa, if you will. And there were a few articles out online that were just so funny. And they're asking things like, was this the most unhinged episode of Star Trek ever? Who actually likes this episode? So, talking about, is it unhinged or is it an epic piece of Trek history?
I think it's gone through so much of a full circle of people vilifying it, including Gates, to now it's almost like guilty pleasure territory. And people see it for the fun romp that it really is. In fact, the only person I know that is really offended by this episode is Joe Keegan, because of all the really bad Scottish, kind of incorrect Scottish references to the hills of Kilmarnock, which is not a thing because Kilmarnock's very flat.
Yes.
Oh, that's so funny. I always loved the Scottish thing because I was obsessed with Scotland when I was younger. And so I was like, this is so cool. It's my two favorite things. And then the lamp started doing weird stuff and I didn't understand what was going on. I felt like I was an adult the first time I watched this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's 4.8 on IMDb, which for me doesn't really mean too much because a lot of my favorite movies are actually about 5 point whatever. So I don't always trust other people's judgment, but it is one of the lowest rated. I think it's only superseded by Shades of Grey for TNG.
Which is bizarre because I really enjoy Shades of Grey. So I would put this below Shades of Grey. Just
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Shades of Grey for me was like, why are we a clip show? It was just very, very strange. Oh, my light just went out.
Oh.
It was just a very, very weird show for me, but yeah.
I love this episode.
Wait, what did you say?
I love this episode.
What? Why?
I just find it similarly to Who Mourns for Morn. It takes you out of the seriousness and the kind of dire situations of the peril that sometimes we find ourselves in Star Trek, particularly DS9 with the Dominion War. But this is it's just funny and it's a bit silly. And if you don't take it so seriously, it's great. And also as well, you get a lot of good Crusher and Troy and a lot of the characters that were kind of done dirty in that kind of time period with the writing. They get some good stuff in this episode, I find.
Yeah. Just the best line, though, is I read a particularly erotic chapter in my grandma's journal last night. No one ever wants to hear that. No one should be reading erotic nothing from their grandmothers.
You should get recipes and nothing else from grandmother's writing.
Maybe some fun old family photos.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I got lots of tchotchkes from my grandparents, which I loved, but nothing crossed any lines. So
well, the one good thing I will say about this episode, since I should say something good, is we do get to see good Troy and Beverly, continue their friendship. And I mean, they're talking about a ghost guy, so that doesn't pass the Bechdel test. Is that what that is? But I enjoy that they at least got some good Troy and Beverly time in this episode.
Yeah. It's a good humor as well, where Troy says, if I were you, I'd read 2 chapters tonight.
I know, right? That girl, she knows.
She knows. She's got it. She's Imzadi. She knows. And then we've got a little bit of some updates on the Section 31. It is IMDb has listed this for 2025 completion, so no one hold any proverbial breath. It's going to be a little bit of a beat before we actually get to see it. And then just the tagline or whatever is tasked with protecting the United Federation of Planets. Giorgio also must face the sins of her past.
So just to recap.
Yes.
Giorgio is from the mirror, now currently in our prime timeline, went through the Guardian, and we don't know where she ends up. So this movie is Mirror Giorgio facing the sins of her past in a different universe.
I guess we'll see. How do they know what she did in the other universe? I found that very interesting too, where I'm thinking to myself, what? How? But I mean, she wasn't nice in the other universe, so maybe a few people did snitch on her, or maybe someone else from the mirror universe comes to the prime timeline to seek revenge, and she must make atonements. I don't know.
Also, we don't know the time that she was deposited when she went through the Guardian. Right. So if we are in kind of Deep Space Nine, Section 31 territory timeline, we know all about the mirror universe from this time period. So if it comes out, all the stories will be there.
Right. Yep. That's true.
Yep.
Huh. Hadn't thought about that.
It'll be very interesting. And, we don't know a lot about it, but we do know there are 7 new characters. Their names haven't been released, but 7 new actors, who have been named. So the next slide outlines those. So these are the 7 actors who have been cast on Section 31. I also have to take offense to whoever wrote this article because they entitled it 7 to join Section 31 cast. And my heart stopped because I thought it was Jerry Ryan. And the first comment on Reddit was like, everybody calm down. It's 7 people, not 7 of 9. And everybody was so upset, viscerally angry at how this was titled. So, yeah. So these are the lovely faces that will be joining. There are no character names listed yet. We don't know who's a protagonist, antagonist, who's human, Klingon, etc. So I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm very curious to know, does anyone recognize, put it in the chat, the only one I recognize, Sam Richardson, is he on something? He looks familiar.
Certain articles I've listed what shows they've been in,
Yeah.
but for speaking for the Brits, Robert Kaczynski has been in a lot of, quite fashionable US shows. But for the
Okay.
Brits, we will know him as Sean Slater from EastEnders, which is one of our soap operas. So he came to fame in EastEnders about 10 years ago, playing Sean Slater, a bit of a bad guy. But he was great, and he was a bit of a heartthrob as well. He used to always win sexiest male at the soap awards. So it's nice to have him back on screen.
So Amy, I don't know if this helps. Sam Richardson was in Veep.
Veep, yeah, I think that's where I recognize him from.
Yeah. So, but they named a bunch of stuff that they've seen, but I must say, I realize how narrow my viewing habits are.
Yeah.
I was like, if you haven't previously been in Star Trek, I have no idea who you are. Maybe occasionally. The one crossover that caught me off guard, this is totally off topic, was I'm also a big Outlander fan. I say that with pride, actually. I don't know why I'm acting ashamed. But Ed Spielers, who plays Picard's son in season 3, plays a very ominous character in season 3 or 4 of Outlander. He's a very, very bad person. And it's so hard to watch the two because I was like, Picard would never allow his son to act like this, even though it's in 17th century budding America. So,
well, good friend Iker just pointed out that Sam Richardson was also in Ted Lasso.
That's where I know him. That's where I know him. Thank you,
and he won
Iker.
an Emmy again. Totally
right.
Totally out of touch with what's going on.
So there's been a lot of chatter about people, dare I say, complaining that we've not been getting Ash Tyler or other people. Do we think this is purposeful, as in they want it brand new? Or do you think there's a few names being held back for a bigger reveal?
I bet. I can't imagine that they wouldn't have at least a couple of memorable faces show up in this. It would seem very odd otherwise. But I do think seeing the Trek canon grow and start to include new faces is important.
Yes.
We were just talking about how, people get older and sometimes they're just, I'm not going to act anymore. And we don't want to just see the series end. We want more content. We want more stuff. So, I just hope that the people who are brought in have a reverence for Trek and realize how important it is to the people who will be watching this this movie, and do their research and watch.
I think it's now impossible for anyone new coming into Star Trek to not be told about the fandom, about the family nature, about what you're walking into. Because it seems like the new actors that are coming on, like they're like, oh yeah, this is huge. I was told that, I need to do my research. Fans are serious. So I feel like if you're a professional, you're going to take the role on. I mean, you're not going to understand its magnitude until you actually attend a convention or something, but treat it with the respect that it deserves from being on 50 plus years.
Exactly. And, once, if it's ever possible, have them go on a cruise and really immerse themselves in the
Don't start with a little convention. No. Don't start with STLV. Jump right into that cruise.
Get stuck on a boat with us for a week. We will educate you.
Wow. Great news.
This is also going to this is not going to go to theater, apparently. That Section 31 is slated to go straight to streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question, of course, is what streaming platform? Because there's a lot up in the air about Paramount, which brings us to the next news article where Byron Allen has offered $14 billion for Paramount. And apparently he has tried to buy it before. His plan, though, I don't know, because he says he's going to sell film studios, real estate, and intellectual property from Paramount to recoup and fill some of the debts that they owe. Which I'm thinking, what other huge movie series is associated with Paramount other than Star Trek? Again, though, my viewing habits are very narrow. So when I think Paramount, I automatically either think Star Trek or Indiana Jones. Other than that, I'm out. So the problem from Paramount, though, is they're saying $14 billion offer. Thanks. No thanks. It's not enough. Because this is getting into finance, and I'm not a real financial mind. You know, he's offering to buy the equity portion of Paramount only. And they're saying, well, you also need to buy out the $12 billion of debt owed to Paramount. And I'm thinking, that's a ballsy move. So you acquire $12 billion worth of debt, and now you expect a buyer to make up that? I don't know.
It sounds like a good deal to me.
I know. Someone offered me $14 billion for something, I'd be like, yeah. I have nothing worth $14 billion except Justin. But it was Mission Impossible. Okay.
Right.
I'm not a big Tom Cruise fan, so I don't watch a lot of Mission Impossible.
Yeah, Mission Impossible is huge. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, there are interested parties looking at Paramount, but thus far it's been no solid move. But Byron, if you're listening, and if you buy Paramount, do not sell Star Trek.
Don't touch it.
Do not. Don't go there.
Have been warned.
You have been warned. You will incur the wrath that is Kristin. And then the elitists do have deep pockets. Don't we know that? And then just we did lose another member of the Star Trek family. William O'Connell passed away this week. And he was Steve. So he was a double Orion agent disguised as an Andorian, journey to Babel. So he lived a long and fruitful life. When you look at his filmography, it's very impressive. And you can tell he had a love for a particular genre. He was in, Outer Limits, Twilight Zone, Batman and the Munsters. So those are four of my other favorite older TV shows. The Munsters, Lily Munster, yes. And the Outer Limits and Twilight Zone. I always wondered if he ever worked with William Shatner. So I wasn't able to find if there was any crossover, but I wonder if they met while doing any filming there. So
I think it's always very special if you're the actor who was the first of a particular new species. Yes. So this guy was the first Andorian on Star Trek. So we got a lot of continuity and history of that race. Due to this guy's original portrayal.
Yeah. And I just love how throughout the years and the 50 plus years of having Andorians on the show, their aesthetic stayed very true to Journey to Babel. And I love that. We're not getting that Klingon. Where did their ridges go? Oh, they're back. Oh, they're gone again. Like, what's happening? So it's just a coiffed, beautiful hair and fantastically gorgeous blue complexion.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing, like how great of Michael Westmore to, treat the Andorians with so much respect and like the coloring and the shading around the eyes. Question is, when did the antenna get introduced?
Well, they're right there. You can just my.
Oh, I see.
He's wearing he's got antennae. Yeah.
I think this guy had one because I think he lost one in the episode, if memory serves correctly.
Yeah, there's not one on the. Oh, I shouldn't point right there, but there's not one on the other side, but on this side.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, so that's when we saw Rin and his chopped off one that's sort of a homage to this.
callback.
Oh my gosh,
Indeed.
I'm learning
There
so
you
much.
go, Amy. Connect the dots. Wonderful. Right, shall we bring in Richard and Bruce and see what they've got to think of all of this week's news as well? Let's welcome the guys in. Hey. So,
Hey.
Bruce, anything there of note what Kristin's covered, what you want to give your opinion on?
The buyout.
So I work for Byron Allen.
Wow.
And I will say, Kristin, that he will not be watching this, but I'll relay your message to him not to sell
Thank
Star
you.
Trek.
Thank you.
And
I will
also
give
have-
you my phone number to pass on to him if he wants to chat.
That's fine.
Okay.
Send it to me. He won't call you. But I will say, I've already put in a bid to run Star Trek if he ends up keeping it. So I will take care of the franchise for you.
Oh, phew.
I'm not saying he's going to give it to me, though. But I'm just saying.
I mean, if he
I'll
wants
check.
to see it successful, give it to somebody who actually cares about what they do. That is when you see quality of work skyrocket, is when someone has buy-in to what they're doing in their life. And if somebody is coming from your perspective with your knowledge base, he would be silly not to be like, this is the right person for this job.
Okay, I will make sure he calls you.
Perfect. I will give you a glowing reference.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And how about yourself, Richard? What floated your boat there? What do you want to chat about?
I'm just so far behind on Star Trek news. I didn't even. I mean, it's about time they did something on Section 31.
Right.
But at the same time, how long has that idea been around? So,
Right,
wow.
Richard. We
Yeah.
were talking about this back on TrekFM. It seems
yeah,
like.
yeah, it's been a while because we were thinking about doing a show about this, and then it got to the back burner, and then it's like it got multiple times it got delayed. It's like whatever, we're done.
Well, I mean, COVID hasn't helped with anything, right? So I know a lot of the discussion about when the Section 31 movie be cool came out, what it would have been 2018, 2019, when Discovery just sort of started getting its hooks into people.
Mm-hmm.
And COVID has just really destroyed everything. We lost 3 years. So it's been a tough go, and not just physically, emotionally, everything. So I'm glad that it didn't lose steam. You know, you're right, Richard. There's been talk about Section 31 forever, and we just kind of have to take minus the 3 years that we lost to the pandemic and say maybe we're not too far behind. I don't know.
Well, hopefully they made a really good story. So,
Right.
That is the hope.
Yeah.
That is the hope. I mean, are
Took them
they
3
going
years.
to save the universe by playing Beastie Boys? I don't know if it will be that epic of a storyline.
Wow.
Yeah.
We get a lot of good Section 31 storyline in the novel series. So, keeping with the theme of today's episode, if you are a lover of Section 31, get yourself reading the Julian Bashir storylines, which were set after DS9, and you'll get your fill that way while you're waiting for next year.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And Richard, Bruce, what are your thoughts on Sub Rosa?
I don't watch it very often.
I usually skip it.
Come on.
I watched it not that long ago, maybe like a year ago, and I was thinking, okay, maybe this isn't as bad as I thought. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, it's actually worse than I thought. But I like it. It's fun, right? Like I like fun, cheesy, like Star Trek every once in a while.
Campy.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, campy.
When was the last time we did a show, Amy?
I know.
That was when I watched Sub Rosa.
Exactly.
All right. There we go. And then the other episode that just recently had a birthday as well was Threshold.
Mm-hmm.
So, we want to talk about camp, and hey,
Yeah.
I love Threshold.
Wow.
I love that freaking episode so much. I will watch it every single time, and I look forward to it because I love special effects makeup.
Mm.
And when they have Paris's face falling apart, it harkens me back to Jeff Goldblum in The Fly, and I live for it. So
I have to look away. The scene where he takes his tongue out not for me.
Know, right?
Too gross. Sorry.
Work. I was like, how did they do that? Again, I would have been in my early teens watching that, going, "This is phenomenal." They just hung out.
Yeah. Now, when I watched that, I didn't eat sushi for a month because that just reminded me of that.
Bruce, you had to say that.
Especially unagi, hey?
Oh no! Don't do that to me.
Oh, amazing.
Guys, that is great. Kristin, thank you so much, as always, for all of your news roundup. That was belting. We love it. And we will see you guys later in the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Well, Kelvin.
Amy?
Oh my goodness. Well, let's get started. We're going to introduce Richard Marquez. Now, some of our viewers may recognize, and I've seen already in the chat, Richard Marquez was my very first co-host when I started podcasting way back in 17, 16.
Yeah.
And this is when I started my love of podcasting, thanks to Richard. Oh my gosh, Richard, I'm so glad that you are back. Welcome to the Viewscreen.
I'm touched that I inspired that podcast love. Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Now, I recently noticed on your Instagram, and if you haven't been following, he's got comic books like almost every single day. What brought this on? Like, you are totally just going crazy with this comics. I love it.
I've actually been into comics for quite a few years. Actually, during the time of our podcast, I just never posted about it or talked about it. Just the sheer collecting and rereading all the stories again and whatnot, and why not make a little money on the side? But other than that, it's been very. I mean, I just love the art. I mean, as you can see, I have a wall full of art of some of the stuff that I really love, and it's just been very comforting to me.
So I notice, because I'm not that familiar, but you keep posting like free comic book day. What is that?
Well, it's usually 5 or 6 comic books, and then of course most comic book shops also do a sale as well, and that's usually May 4th. So May the 4th, get it? May the 4th be with you. I know that's a Star Trek. I mean, not Star Wars. I'm sorry, but So basically, they usually have like a kids book, and then there's sometimes, and they're all free at your local comic book shop. Wow. So just to tell new stories, get people interested in more, and I don't know one comic book shop that doesn't participate in that. So yeah.
All right.
Are your comics always physical media, or do you ever get digital downloads of comics as well? Or are you like the tangible goods to display on your wall there? What's your preference?
Both.
Oh
wow.
Yeah, it's very expensive. So I like to whenever I do digital media, it's something on my iPad or something like that. That freaking I can just have on the go. And when obviously I can't carry 100 books with me, but like, and it's great for travel or whatnot. But like, physical. I mean, I do buy multiples because like there's multiple covers depending on the book and depending on how important it is, like a first appearance or something like that. That those books come out with maybe, I think the last one was like almost 15 different covers for one issue.
Wow.
And it was it's called Crashdown #1, and it's a really good comic book. So, but like,
and is that just a money grab? Like, why do they have so many different covers?
Yes. It is. I mean, by far, it is a money grab. I mean, obviously, the most shinier, because like one of the things that comic book collectors have been seeing a lot lately is, well, not lately, for a while now, is like foil covers. Like some of those are foil covers, facsimiles. So like some of the more key issues, like the first appearance of Wolverine, would be is they did a foil and also a reprint of it, and then several others. Several
Wow.
other comic books as well. So yeah, it is a money grab. Totally. And I
Okay.
buy into it, unfortunately. So
And it kind of it eats into the that sense of collectorship as well. You know, a lot of
Mm.
people who read comic books and collect comic book series are completionists. So
Mhm.
the idea of having another one out there that you don't possess, it's quite a you know, you want
FOMO.
it in the connection. Yeah, it's really
Yep.
clever. They know exactly
Fear of
what they're
missing
doing.
out. Yep.
And so, like with each cover, they only release X number. So, like some are more coveted. Is that how they also create value?
Marvel and DC definitely do, and that's only because a good majority, like Scout Comics, IDW, several others that are out there, who like Scout Comics, his philosophy is sell as much as we can, print as much as we can, and get that comic book out there. We're trying to get the stories out there, and they're a new publisher too, and that makes sense. I mean, you kind of have to create some kind of value in order to stay relevant in the business. But I mean, tell good stories and people will come.
Yeah.
So
Well, a good story. Do you have a good story to share with us?
I do. So this is Star Trek Picard's Academy. I wasn't sure if I could share the pages inside of it due to copyrights and all that. So rather than show you guys that, I'll just tell you about it. So this is a comic book that recently came out last year. I think we're on issue 3 now, but it starts out as Picard, obviously Picard Academy, and basically it starts out on his second year. I think that's what it is, from my memory serves me right. And basically it's like him trying to it's him as the arrogant person that he mentions in Nemesis, when he was when we saw that he was the bald cadet and everything.
Right.
So
Before he got stabbed.
yeah. Yeah. But like, and so it definitely plays into that quite a bit. He's very arrogant and he doesn't want to party. He wants to work. He wants to study. He wants to get to the space test so he can get out to the frontier and all that kind of stuff. And that's basically what it sets the stage for that kind. And then of course it shows off his friends who his friends were. And it seems to be that they're all gym rats. So yeah. Yeah. So but like obviously he likes to work out and whatnot, and then he has a common rival that and they like to say dick a lot
Huh.
instead of cursing, so
Okay.
which is good. I mean, it's fine because it reads like an Archie comic, but like yeah. But
Okay.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. And this one
Do
actually
we see the-
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Richard. Do we see the characters that were in Tapestry? The Martha Botanities and the ginger guy? Forget his name.
Unfortunately, no.
No, right.
It's like brand new characters.
I wonder if that's to do with writing credits and royalties and things.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, and they're also encouraged to write what they know, or write how they're about their lives and all that kind of stuff, and what they want and what they know and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it is what it is. So yeah. But so not bald Tom Hardy. Yep, definitely not. He's got hair in this one. Maybe I haven't gotten the second issue. I mean, obviously you can tell I'm far behind. So lots of stories to keep up with. I mean, it's a good change. It's definitely a good change. I was actually talking to Sweeney Boo, which is the cover artist who signed it also in that picture.
Okay. I was going to ask, what's the
yeah.
signature?
Well, I got her to sign that one, and then I got her to send. I got a black and white one, and it's off sent to CGC, which is to encapsulate and whatnot. So it'll be on my wall forever. So,
Nice.
but like I was talking to her about the cover, because she only does the cover, but she reads it as well. And her and I had a brief conversation about it. It's like, this is a little bit more lighthearted. It's more, in a sense, real to today. on how interpersonal relationships, interact with each other and whatnot. And it's definitely a change from some of the more serious ones. Like back in 2015, there was a Star Trek, the Kelvin timeline, merging with Green Lantern for the Spectrum Wars. And then and there's one also where there's a current, well, it just ended actually, Star Trek Defiant, and it's a little bit more serious. Obviously, it's about the Defiant Wharf, and it's very very riveting comic book. I absolutely love it. So, but yeah, they just ended it recently. Actually, I think it was last month is what it was. So yeah.
And so is there a typical number of issues for one story?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Some are 6, some are 11. Just depends. Obviously the ongoing are like, I think Batman's in the thousands. So, but like, yeah, they do like segments of stories, and sometimes they're like 6 issues or 11. Defiant was 11. I do believe Star Trek or Picard Star Academy is probably going to be 6. Not exactly sure on that one, but yeah, they're not long. You're right, they're not long, but there's no set number. No.
Yeah, just to tell a story. Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
And this might be a good opportunity for anyone who's a little bit cautious around the forthcoming Starfleet Academy series of how it's going to land. Are they going to enjoy it? Maybe if they read these comics, it might give you a flavor of the types of stories that we'll get in the forthcoming series.
Perhaps.
Might get you just in the mindset.
Yeah.
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Lower decks.
Right. Well, let's bring in Kristin and Bruce, and I want to ask the viewers out there, pop in the chat if you are familiar with this comic or if you have actually picked up a free comic from Free Comic Book Day. Bruce, have you read this series?
I haven't read the whole, I mean, like Richard was saying, it's limited on the Picard's Academy. I think the 5th issue just came out or is coming out now. But I'm not caught up to that yet. So, but yeah, it's fun. It's, it's not as serious like Richard was saying, but all these other comics that have come out in the last year or so, yeah, you gotta check those out because it does mesh different Star Trek characters from different series together, like different, Sisko's got people on his ship and, it's just Worf's got others and it's a mesh of all kinds of stuff. So they're fun to read. Comics, I tend to find that a lot of the comic books kind of go way out there, kind of sometimes a little crazy. And you're like, okay, that's a little much, whatever, but it's comics. Like, I feel like they get away with that where the novels take things a little more seriously, not all the time, but I'm just saying there's been several comics where, like you have like the Kelvin, crew meeting the TOS crew and it's Shatner and Chris Pine. And it's like, okay, I don't know. They're just, they have more freedom to do crazier things.
Lots of crossovers for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
I
why
think
not?
I remember a Star Trek series that crossed over with Doctor Who in the last few years as well. I didn't read them, but I remember being quite tempted. I think it was the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith, who was in those stories. There was ones with the Borg and the Cybermen, obviously quite similar villains themselves.
Yeah, because you know what?
We've inspired him to go grab something.
I have a lunchbox of it.
He's got it.
Oh, gosh.
There you go.
That's cool.
And then it's like, that's a lunchbox. I don't even remember where I got this. But I have a lunchbox.
What a coincidence.
Wow.
There you go.
Oh, we've inspired Kristin to get something.
We turned it into a Troy.
It's just a good old
Star Trek.
I've got that.
It's time
You
to have
have that
lunch.
too, Richard?
I have it too.
Amy, do we need to review the length of this podcast if people are bringing their sandwiches with them these
I
days?
know, right?
Well, this is actually where I keep all of my like doodads.
Oh,
Dude,
that's a good
Oh, and
idea.
somehow I ended up with
right?
the
A storage container.
That
We
is a
don't
good
use it for
idea. 'Cause I don't
lunch.
eat out lunch.
data.
Oh my gosh, this has
goodness.
turned into show and tell. I love it.
So my friend bought me this. She's like, I know you like Star Trek, and I thought this was cute. I was like, and I actually took it to work a few times.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, same here. I think I got it. Yeah, I got it as a gift from my wife, and yeah, it was
Oh.
just great.
You know, I think one thing with graphic novels, like sort of what you were saying with those crossovers, I think you have to have a flexibility, a mental flexibility to be able to enjoy it. And I don't think that I have that flexibility because I've seen those Star Trek and like Wolverine crossover, and I'm like, this does not make sense to me.
Yeah.
And so in my head, because I'm so rigid, I need to loosen up. And I think graphic novels is a good way for me to explore that.
I would
And-
love to see that.
Yeah.
Star Trek and Wolverine. I mean, wow.
Yeah, there was a comic of that, and there was also a novel that called Planet X or X Planet, like that. And
Mhm.
Michael Jan Freeman wrote it, but this was years ago before Patrick Stewart was cast in the X-Men movies. So in the novel, Picard meets Professor Xavier, and it's mentioned how much they look alike
Shut up.
before Patrick Stewart even played in the X-Men. And I just love that part.
Wow.
Oh, that's
Brilliant.
thing. Like I don't have a lot of Star Trek like comic books. I've got a few. My big one that I have is The Hive. I don't know if you've ever read that one.
Yes.
That one's a
Mhm.
good one. But the one it's a graphic novel is this one. Star Trek.
Oh, yes, Countdown. Yes.
Yeah.
This
Yes.
I cried at the end. I
Wow.
bawled like a tiny little baby at the end of this book. It is so good. I'm not going to say anything, but if anyone's looking for a quick read, I mean, a lot of it's just like pictures, right? So it's
Mhm.
very, very easy to read. But if you do pick it up and watch it, I would love to have a discussion with you after because my heart.
Hmm.
And then the other real fun one is the Q conflict.
Yes.
This one just goes through the different like series.
Oh, I love
and
that cover. See, that's what I love about comics. I love these covers that
Yeah.
they do. It's very simple but it's
Effective.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's just when Q messes with all the different captains and it
Oh.
goes through all of
Mhm.
them. So those are the ones that I love. The graphic novels. They're, like I said, they're just quick and easy reads and enjoyable. And they help to fill in some little spots in stories. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Well, absolutely wonderful. Richard, thank you so much for leading this discussion on graphic novels. I really, truly appreciated it. Oh, we have, yes, another. Oh, Q conflict is a great one. Yes. So I'm glad everyone's enjoying this. Yay. Thank you.
Yay, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Wow. Oh, got through so much already, Amy. What a great show we're having. So what have we got coming up later? We've got Bruce will be rejoining us to have a look at the novel series. And that's all coming up right after this short break.
What else can you listen to on the BQN? Replicate yourself a mug of hot chocolate and join Amy, Mark, Christos, and Kelvin as they discuss everything and anything in the Star Trek universe on All Good Things. Boost yourself with an energy drink and join Davey on YouTube and Twitch for reviews and live streams of classic, cheap, and sometimes more recent video games on Bargain Bin Gamer. Brew yourself a pot of coffee and join Jeremiah to discuss Star Trek Voyager on The Captain's Couch. Mix your favorite cocktail and join Mark and Matt at Cinema Z to discuss the films you probably missed but should definitely check out. Pour a cup of tea, Earl Grey, hot, and listen to Stephen and Keith as they discuss the next generation of Trek on Galaxy Class. Get yourself something caffeinated and learn an interesting bit of history with Chrissy and Jason on History with the Zalogis. Have a bowl of Flomeek soup and join Thad and Chrissy and a guest to discuss new episodes of Star Trek as they are released on Infinite Diversity. Have something to sharpen your mind and put your Trek knowledge to the test with the Treksperts quiz. Take a bite out of something that didn't seem edible and join Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley covering all things in New Trek, including that show that is Trek in all but name, The Orville, on Union Federation. Get your Sunday brunch ready for the Viewscreen, a live weekly talk show hosted by Kelvin and Amy with featured guests talking about all things Trek. Pour a glass of wine and spill some tea with Christos, where he discusses current Trek news and events and explores the world of fandom via guest interviews, all with an LGBTQIA+ perspective on What's the Tea, Bev? And Patreon members get to pass around that green bottle of Aldebaran whiskey once a month on the round table, and they can listen to It's Green with Mark White and Amy's Math Moments.
Well, we are going to have to redo that if we're going to have a new show, The Food Replicator, as was announced last week on the Viewscreen.
Absolutely. That would be great.
Well, you guys, let's bring in Bruce Gibson. If you are not familiar, Bruce and I, again, have been podcasting way back in Trek FM days, former host of Literary Treks, creator, I don't know. You do Positively Treks, went independent after leaving Trek FM from the mass exodus, if you follow that. But an avid reader.
Yeah.
Bruce Gibson, welcome to the Viewscreen.
Thank you. You're like had me on to talk about one of my favorite things, and that's Star Trek novels.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So, listeners, we were having dinner, and we have another friend, Trek Geeks, that was to be on the show. Unfortunately, due to some extenuating circumstances, they had to drop out. But we've got Bruce here. So glad. Thank you for stepping in, and I just love podcasting with you again. It's been too long.
I know. I kind of got away from the podcasting thing. I make occasional guest appearances on Positively Trek. And yeah, I haven't done anything with you, Amy, in a while outside of like having dinner and drinks occasionally. Right.
Yeah.
I'm in Vegas.
Yes.
But I'm still watching Star Trek, even though I'm not podcasting about it, but I'm watching it, I'm reading it, I'm still all about it as always. So it's so cool to just like do this again,
Yeah.
And then I don't have to edit this for later or anything like that. We can just do this live. And we did a live show on Trek FM when Discovery premiered.
Right.
And we were talking that back in the day on Trek FM, there were 5 Discovery podcasts that came out a week.
Every week.
Every week for
5
every episode.
Podcasts on one episode.
Where are they now?
Oh, well, 2 of us are right here. Well, Bruce, what do you have for us?
Well, so this is my table that this book is sitting on, right? See? But we have coming out later this month on the 27th of February, we have a new Star Trek Picard novel about 7 of 9. So this is about what took place between Voyager returning home to what you saw in the series Star Trek Picard. So this is written by David Mack, who is, I think, between David Mack and Dayton Ward, I don't know who's written the most Star Trek novels at this point. I think David Mack is just, a little ahead of Dayton Ward. But the description says here that 2 years after USS Voyager's return from the Delta Quadrant, 7 of 9 finds herself rejected for a position in Starfleet, and instead finds a new home with the interstellar rogue law enforcement corps known as Fenris Rangers. And the Rangers seem like an ideal fit for 7. But to embrace this new destiny, she must leave behind all she's ever known and risk losing the most important thing in her life, her friendship with Admiral Catherine Janeway.
Wow.
What a great setup.
Now, didn't you want to know all about this when you were watching Picard?
Yes, because, when we first see that little Fenris Ranger coin and it's like, what is this? Did we hear of Fenris Ranger before? This is a new
It was
thing.
new for Picard season 1. They
Right.
introduced the concept and with 7. Yeah, but I think the absence of Janeway, particularly in season 3, I think a lot of people just accepted it because of the production and the cost value, but the story did suffer a little bit. So being able to maybe, dare I say, retcon Janeway's absence in season 3 of Picard and explain it maybe in this book is something I'm quite keen to find out what's gone on.
Yes, that's why I love the novels, because the limitations you have in producing a series or a movie, availability of actors or the cost or whatever it is, can all be taken care of, whether it's a novel or a comic, that we can explore those different avenues. So I've got the novel here. It's coming out. I got an early copy here from the publisher to promote it right here on the show. So coming out February 27th, go buy it. It's going to be really good. I know it. I haven't read it yet. I'm getting ready to. So, yeah, I'm excited about it.
Is it coming out on audiobook format, do we know? Or is it just printed novel at this stage?
I haven't verified that. They didn't tell me, the publisher didn't tell me, but they have been doing audio books of newly released novels. So I'm going to assume that there is an audio book of this.
Purely for selfish reasons, because this book drops in perfect timing for my return flight from Star Trek The Cruise. So I shall be listening or reading to this on the way home, I imagine.
Yes. And you're wearing a cruise shirt now, right?
I am, yes.
There you are.
Oh. Good eye.
Well, we were talking before the show. I cheated. I'm wearing my Star Trek Mission Chicago shirt from like a couple of years ago.
Yes, I was there.
So, okay, so that's not that, that's not the only thing that's coming out, people. There's more. We got TNG. Now, here's the thing. When they brand novels, they have to pick a series, but this is kind of a TNG and Deep Space Nine adventure by Dayton Ward. See?
Okay.
Dayton Ward, David Mack going at it, right? So this takes place in 2369, and it says shortly after Starfleet thwarts a Cardassian attack on a Federation star system, the Cardassian government orders an end to its 50-year occupation of the planet Bajor. As a result, a newly installed Bajoran government requests immediate assistance from the Federation to mediate how the withdrawal will proceed and what recompense, if any, Bajorans are owed from their brutal oppressors. Captain Jean-Luc Picard is ordered by Starfleet Command to oversee these tense negotiations on Terok Nor, the massive Cardassian space station still orbiting Bajor, even as he still deals with his own recent trauma as a prisoner held and tortured by a Cardassian interrogator. As these critical peace talks get underway, Ensign Ro Laren receives a call for help from a friend thought long dead, exposing an insidious secret from inside Cardassian space. Now, Picard and the crew of the Starship Enterprise must act to prevent an interstellar incident from reigniting deadly hostilities between the Federation and the Cardassians, not the Kardashians, the Cardassians, and shattering any hope of justice for the Bajoran people. So,
wow. So this is right up my street, and I cannot wait for this. But Bruce, I'm curious. Obviously now we've kind of wrapped up the beta canon storylines with the Coda trilogy, and the book series we're focusing on Discovery, Picard. Here we've got a new Next Generation novel, which is in a way now going to be kind of retconning the older Next Generation series. So anything that has been established in new Star Trek through Discovery, Picard, etc., now needs to be part of this book. So I'm interested to see what the takes are going to be. And without giving away any spoilers, a recent book, we can see Garak there on the cover. There was a recent book in the Picard series that focused on Garak. So I'm keen to see what the crossover is going to be here. But the end of the occupation, I can't wait for this.
Yeah, you know what interests me about reading that is that how involved the Enterprise and Picard were after the occupation, which makes sense why Picard is on DS9 when Cisco is arriving, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of ties that
Oh.
together, that the Enterprise was involved in the early part of it and is just passing the baton over to Cisco to take over from there. So that's cool. But yeah, to your point, like the beta canon of what was done for the last 20 some years has ended because of the new series that have released. And so they've kind of had to start things over. So this won't tie into anything in the previous beta canon novel continuity, but the authors still like to, because even though it may be a different timeline or whatever, they still like to pull things in from those and suggest that some of those events may still happen in this timeline. So
yeah, no, because it's the same authors, isn't it, for most of them?
Yeah. So Pliable Truths comes out in May 21st by Dayton Ward.
Nice little birthday present for us, Amy.
Yes, it is.
Well, they timed it just for that reason. For Amy's
Yes.
birthday.
Oh, good. We have a comment in the chat says, I just checked. The Picard audio version will be out on the 27th, according to Audible.
Thank you so much for that little bit of research. I really appreciate that. That will be me clicking add to basket on the audiobook.
Yes.
All right. Well, you got to keep listening, because then there's even more coming after that, which I'm sure will be on audiobook. There's another novel coming in July 23rd. And by the way, when I say these dates, they sometimes change.
Yeah. Okay. We won't hold you to it.
Right. The Firewall book's still coming out the end of February for sure. But the others subject to change. But this is a TOS book. And this is by Greg Cox, another well-known Star Trek author. And this takes place in the movie era, but also during the original series era, but also during our year of 2024, because the effects of the voyage home still cross over into this time in our day and age. So there's 3 eras, 3 mysteries, and 1 ancient enemy. So in 2024, almost 40 years ago, marine biologist Gillian Taylor from the Voyage Home movie stormed away from her dream job at the Sausalito Cetacean Institute and was never seen or heard from again. Now a new true crime podcast has reopened that cold case, but investigator Melinda Silver has no idea that her search for the truth about Gillian's disappearance will ultimately stretch across time and space and attract the attention of a ruthless obsessive with his own secret agenda. Now, jump to 2268. The USS Enterprise's 5-year mission is interrupted when Captain James T. Kirk and his crew set out to recover an abducted Federation scientist whose classified secrets are being sought by the Klingons as well. The trail leads to a barbaric world off limits to both Starfleet and the Klingon Empire, and an ageless mastermind on a quest for eternity. But it doesn't end there. The 3rd era, 2292, which was right after the Undiscovered Country. The Asori, an ancient alien species, has finally agreed to establish relations with its much younger neighbors, the Federation, the Klingons, and the Romulans. A joint mission involving ships from all 3 powers, including the Enterprise A, turns explosive when one of the Asori envoys is apparently killed. Each side blames the others, but the truth lies buried deep, nearly 300 years in the past. Which would be
Ooh, there's a lot. I mean, they could be 3-story books in themselves.
Right?
The fact they're running in parallel is amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I like these things where they go back in different times and how it all connects together, you know? And on the cover, you see Kirk, Spock, and you see Saavik. So I always enjoyed Saavik as a character. And so this book's called Lost to Eternity, July 23rd by Greg Cox.
I wonder if the species mentioned there are the people who sent the probe in Star Trek 4. So there's so much mystery around who that was. Maybe we're getting a little bit of explanation all these years later. So yeah, that's going to be fabulous.
Well, you know what I do is when I read these blurbs, I go online because I'm like, have we seen the Usari before? Were they in an episode I'm not remembering? And then I look at memory beta. Were they in a novel or a comic before? And I haven't found anything on it, but I'm always looking because I don't remember all the different species that are out there and what their names are. So
excellent.
I think they're new. They're not ringing any bells to me.
Should be exciting. But all these books are very serious. So our next book isn't as serious because now it's time to have some fun with Lower Decks.
Yay!
And so this is an interactive original graphic novel. And this is coming out October 15th. And it's called Warp Your Own Way. By the way, when I drive in the car, sometimes when I start to move forward, I say engage. Other times I say warp me. So what this summary says is Mariner just wants to have a normal day. But no matter what side of the bed she wakes up on, the world is ending. Literally. If she has coffee, Borg attack. If she has a Rectigino, cue the Romulan boarding party. And in each scenario, Mariner and her friends end up dead. Sometimes the ship is destroyed, and the day starts all over again. But by exploring the different paths, you, the reader, can discover things that Mariner can't. There are inconsistencies that don't make sense, putting aside the fact that Mariner's choice of drink each morning shouldn't affect which alien races attack the ship. Other facts of her world seem to change too. Something is definitely off, and it's up to you to discover.
Wow.
So, Amy, you're in charge of what happens.
This is amazing. I really want to figure this out. Like choose your own ending, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love that they do this in Lower Decks. Perfect fit. I love it. I'm excited about this one.
I know.
Yeah, I used to love choose your own adventure books when I was younger. So bringing those back into the Star Trek universe, this is definitely also going to be on my list.
Me too. So that should be a lot of fun. Again, October 15th, unless the date changes. But you'll see why I keep saying this too. It does happen sometimes. But anyway, that one's good. So there's something else coming out even sooner, again, at the end of this month. So those are like your fiction books. So I wanted to go into this next one, which is a Star Trek Picard book. It's not a novel, but it's an in-depth look at the making of Star Trek Picard, all 3 seasons. And it's the art and making of the series. And I think this is going to be really interesting to look through and read because it's got interviews, it's got things about the makeup and the costumes and the visual effects, all the behind the scenes stuff. On-set photography, artwork, all kinds of stuff. And so if you're a Star Trek Picard fan, this is a must for you.
Well, and I think it's good because Picard is finished. We have 3 seasons, no more. So instead of like, oh, here's, the first 3 seasons and then you're missing the rest, it's finished. We can get the book and enjoy it. I bet, Kelvin, you're going to pick this up because you love these trivia books.
I have a very similar, they did a similar style of book for the Kelvin movies about the sets, the ships, the uniforms and the styling. And it's a great coffee table book. It's actually on my coffee table. So I think this will be joining it. Mm-hmm. Bruce, I'm going to be spending a lot of money thanks to you. Thanks for all this.
See, the publishers love it when I get people to spend money on the books. And when you spend money on the books, they'll make more of them, which makes me happy. So yeah, it's all about me right now. But you know what? I'm going to do you a favor here. I'm going to give you a sneak peek of what's in this book, because on this next slide here, you'll get to see what you'll see in the book. So we get to see some of the costume choices that they made for Jean-Luc Picard.
Oh, lovely. And there's
so
number one.
Yes, the dog. So little things there. And then there's even more pages in here where we have Worf and the Klingons and the makeup being used and the costumes. And then the ship, the Enterprise D, recreated. Of course, you want to know how that was done, right? So a lot of good stuff in there. So those who are listening to the audio podcast, just go to YouTube to see all this, or search online. You'll find this stuff too. So, but the last book is not necessarily, it's not a Star Trek book. It's not a biography, but Nana Visitor written a book called Star Trek Open a Channel, A Woman's Trek. Now, I'm hearing different dates. It was supposed to come out last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing March 12th. I'm also hearing October 1st. So, at some point it's going to come out. But this is her first book, and it's not an autobiography, but it's about her experiences on Star Trek, but also how Star Trek has led the way for women and all the women who have been involved in Star Trek, whether they acted in it, wrote for it. She's interviewed many familiar faces like Kate Mulgrew and Terry Farrell from all the different series, Mary Wiseman, for example, Rebecca Romaine, Denise Crosby. And so this is inspiring stories about the women who have been in Star Trek and who were inspired by Star Trek to do the current positions that they're in today. So this should be a really good book to read.
Kelvin, do you remember? So Nana was on the cruise 2 years ago and was doing research for this book and actually interviewed Rhea Papagiorgio, of BQN, for this. So I'm very interested to know if Rhea's story made it in the book.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's very, I think it's quite overdue, this, for, I'm sure, multiple reasons. But even when Nana said on the cruise 2 years ago that it was in production, it got a lot of people excited, myself included. So I'm happy to wait. I just want the finished products will be fantastic, I'm sure. But I'm quite famous for loving all of the women characters in Star Trek. They're some of my biggest role models in life. So to get all of them together and hear those stories as actors and as people, I just can't wait to consume this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to write down who the publisher is, but the original publisher was Eagle Moss, and they went out of business. So that affected this.
That would explain a few things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it looks like Simon Schuster picked this up, so that's good. So
wow, great.
So yeah.
Excellent.
So we got some stuff coming. It's usually there's been years we get a lot more novels and books, and this is kind of a bit of a slower year, but we've had slower years, and a lot of it has to do with even back in the COVID days and whatever, but we've got some good stuff coming out this year.
Well, very good. Well, let's bring in Kristin and Richard and let us know in the chat which book you're most interested in reading.
All of them?
Most interested.
Yes, I have to say the Nana Visitor one.
Mm-hmm.
If they're potentially releasing it on March 12th, what they really should be doing is releasing it on March 8th, which is International Women's Day.
Oh.
Missed opportunity.
The marketing is right there that, you want to pay homage to women in one of the biggest franchises of all time. Do it on the day where people are supposed to appreciate the women in their lives. And so...
you missed your role as a marketer.
I did, but that's all right. Yeah. So Bruce, while you were talking, I have pretty much pre-ordered all those books. It's been a very
Yep.
crazy morning.
That's what I did too. Yep. Right here.
Except the one that's coming out at the end of this month. I just yelled at Justin and be like, if anyone wants, because my birthday's in early March, so I was like, if anyone wants to get me a birthday present, tell them about this book.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that David Mack one. I mean, some of my favorite novels is actually from him, and I actually got to meet him at Starfest 2 years ago. That was here in Denver, and oh my gosh, I just absolutely the novel I'm talking about is Disavowed, the Section 31 Disavowed with Julian Bashir. There's a scene in there that for whatever reason in my mind it's like crystal clear, like a comic book. And it's when a sovereign class starship comes in at Andoria, and right when Bashir is trying to escape. Oh my god, I can see it all day. And I love the way he described everything, and it was just like you were there. It was just fantastic. It's one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you guys. If there's some people who might be quite intimidated jumping into the book universe because they almost don't know where to start. Do you start with them by publishing date? Do you go straight to the Voyager ones, Enterprise? What would be your advice as a kind of a jumping into point for the books?
Richard?
So during the pandemic, I went to Second and Charles. And I spent almost $600, bought all their books from Star Trek.
Option.
Yeah, I got like a whole entire shelf down in the basement full of Star Trek. So what I'm trying to say is that read what you want, read what you like, because that's exactly what I did. I bought everything I wanted, and then anything I saw that was real or not real, that was interesting, especially the cover, bought it right away. And I'm still halfway through it, so
nice.
Yeah, a lot of stories.
What about you, Bruce? And any advice from you, Bruce, for a starting point?
Yeah, I mean, similar to Richard, I mean, get what you like. I mean, if you're big in TNG, get a TNG book. If you're Deep Space Nine, whatever the series is that you're interested in, or even if you just see something that just the back cover, the cover looks interesting, the blurb on the back looks really interesting. But if it's part of a series, don't worry about it. Even if it's halfway through or near the end, the authors know that a lot of times people are picking up a book for the first time and haven't read the series, so they'll catch you up in the book. And I'm talking about the books that were published in the past several years, because they're not doing so many books. They're not doing any books now that are part of a series that are connected to one another like that, because they're trying to keep consistent with what's on screen. So they don't have that flexibility to just create their own timeline of events between all these different novels at this point. So you're safe for any new novels that come out. But in the old novels, I wouldn't really worry about it. Because even if you start a novel in the middle of a series, it will explain everything. And if you like it, there's things in there that make you go, oh, I want to go back and read what happened and why this happened. So to me, the order doesn't really matter that much.
That's really good advice because, as a teacher, like kids would bring me stuff and some of them were books and I got like a time to heal, love. There's like this whole a time to do stuff. And I think I have 3 and I don't even know how large that series is, but I haven't started reading it because I don't have the first one. So you're saying I can just read it?
You could. Because,
new idea.
Because I can't remember. I think it's about 8 books, 10 books, something like that.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, it's like book 1 and 2 are connected. 3 and 4. I mean, they're all connected, but it's like a part 1, part 2 almost type of thing. But even if you start with book 2, it will describe, it will catch you up of what happened in book 1, so you wouldn't feel totally lost. But
that was good advice.
That's actually how I started Typhon Pact. Was I read I think book 2, and then didn't know that well, I'm not going to spoil it because if you know what happens in that novel, then you'll know why. But like, yeah, after reading about the background of what's inside book 2, it was like, oh my gosh, I got to go back to 1, and just read about it. But it does. You're right. He's right. It definitely gives a lot of information in all those books before. I mean, you don't even really have to read the previous one.
Yeah.
But you're going to want to go back and read the previous one.
Right.
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 My personal recommendation to anyone is the Destiny trilogy. I think it's a fantastic 3-part storyline that brings in everything. It's all of the toys out of the pram. It's Deep Space Nine, it's Voyager, it's Next Generation. And it's a great jumping off point, and then you can follow whichever series afterwards. And it's just a fantastic story as well. So that's how I got into the novels. I started at Destiny.
Mine was, I was walking through the thrift store and they had buy 4 books, get 1 free. So I bought 5 Star Trek novels, and I went off of the cover. And sort of like, what looks like something I would be able to dive into. So the first one I actually got was hold on, Relics.
Oh, wow.
Hold on,
yeah.
There it is. And it replays this episode, which is one of my favorites, Next Generation. But it plays it from the perspective of the ensign who walks Scotty to his room. It is very interesting. It's old as all get out. I think it was published in
what does that cover look like again? I missed it. Sorry.
Oh, it's just Geordi and Scotty.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, there's one person on Facebook Marketplace around Kelowna who is selling an entire series, like the numbered series of Deep Space Nine books, $5 for all of them.
What?
Ooh, wow.
And I was like, what?
Add to cart.
Hold on a second. What's
Facebook.
the name again?
Yeah.
So I always like to, I always just like to encourage people, sometimes, and Bruce, cover your ears. I know you don't want to hear this, but buy used, pre-loved. Sometimes if people buy and just get rid of their stuff, then you just pick that up for a fraction of the price.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we do need to buy new to support and make sure that we have.
We do. I know.
But I've gotten to know a lot of these authors pretty well, and am friends with a few, and one really close friend. But they just want you to read. I mean, yeah, they want to make money, of course, for the living, but they love it even if you buy at a used bookstore. They love it if you go to the library. They just want you to read it. And if anything, the more you read it, the more interested you may end up buying some of their other novels, new or whatever. So yeah, it's all good. Just read them. Yeah, it's fun.
Just read it.
Yeah, interesting, Kristin, that you say that used bookstores, because I started my reading and I just went to the library, and thankfully my library had a whole section of Star Trek books. Mm-hmm. And so I would just go through and I just picked out all the TNG ones because everyone knows I love TNG. But then I noticed I read all the books in my library, my one local library. But then I noticed that, there's a book sale at a library. And so I started going to book sales like a quarter per book. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, here you go. I'm grabbing some books. Yeah. So just keep your eyes open. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. And
conventions are great places too to fill in any gaps in your collection. My partner James goes with a list of all of the books that he needs, and he rifles through, and he's completed most of the numbered TNG and DS9 ones now.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
The collector in me wants to get all of them.
And the great thing is we're never going to run out of content. Even, as Bruce, you were saying this is the slow year for books. But has anyone ever read every single book by Star Trek? Like, there will always be something new to find that has popped up that we didn't know existed, or, Yeah,
I can't remember the number now. But with novels, I think it's over 800 at this point.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't read them all. Justin Ozer, a friend of ours, I know that's his goal, is try to read them all. I think I've known 2 people who said they've read every single one. I had that goal, but I don't think I'll ever reach it. But
No.
but even if I did, I mean, think about how long would it take you to read 800? You probably forget a lot
Yeah.
of them from years ago. You want to go back and reread. You will never run out.
No, you
Yeah.
won't. And I
Mhm.
love that. I love that this is such a self-sustaining thing to be obsessed with, and it just makes me so excited. And then when you talk to other people and share perspectives and everything, suddenly it comes up, I never thought of it that way, or oh my gosh, maybe this is, and then you go back. So after I read that book, I went back immediately and rewatched the episode alongside the book, and it really made that more rich. And so I always shed a tear at the end of Relics, because can you imagine the shock for Scotty? But I felt like it really just
Added to.
yeah, it really did. So yeah.
One thing that I know, because my memory sometimes, like if I read a book, let's say Imzadi, so I sort of love, obviously, Deanna Troy. So facts in the book, I will just think is, canon. And then it's like, oh no, for Riker and Troy, they did it. And it's like, oh, that's from the book. So sometimes I get a little confused for people who are very, this is canon. Kelvin would. That's not canon.
Everything's got its place, but I will be the person to remind you if it was on screen or on a page.
Yes, that was not canon.
And that sometimes happens to me because I've read so many books. It's like, and I remember talking to Larry Nemechek, Dr. Trek, and he said, I never read the novels. And he said, because he's trying to be, keep all canon in his head, he doesn't want to be confused.
With that extra
stuff. Wait, that was a novel. Oh wait, no.
Yeah.
He keeps it what's on screen, because it will just really mess him up if he gets the novels and the comics confused. And
I have to say, has anyone ever played that old school Star Trek game, the one that is very trivia based, and it is all on the original series?
Didn't we play that in Las Vegas at the 50th?
Was that the game?
Is it a tape? Was it a tape and you had to?
No, that's the TNG one.
Oh, are you talking about the suit one?
It's the
I do have that I have just recently played that. Oh, in Nashville with Iker. Iker, are you still watching?
There you go. I would love. I don't really have anybody in my immediate vicinity that I can play it with, but I would love to do online gaming sometime. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I also own a copy of Star Trek Monopoly that nobody will play with me.
Oh, I love Monopoly.
Thank you. Maybe we should do a gaming day online. That would be fun.
Yes. If we all have it, then we can all set up our own boards and move everyone's pieces.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah.
Just to go back to that TOS, is it inside of like a little shellcraft?
No, it's an.
No, not that one.
It's just a box game, and the pieces are almost just like little gems that you move around.
Oh.
Yeah, I've done that one. Oh, and I have seen that one that's the shuttlecraft. That's a good one too, Richard.
Yeah, I love it. No one wants to play with me on that.
Okay, are we
in part because they think they're going to lose.
Are we going to do a tabletop Star Trek tabletop gaming podcast?
Oh,
Kristin, I think you've just found your niche. Welcome to the network.
I'm in.
Why not?
Wonderful.
Me too.
We're all in.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we're coming up to time, so I think that's a good place to leave it there.
I think this is your longest episode.
We're getting on for it. Our 1 hour episodes are famous now for being 90 minutes long. So I think it's the quality of the chat.
I tell people 10-minute segment, 5-minute, but no one listens to me. It's too much fun.
We're all passionate about this.
Good track. So thank you, all of you, for sharing your views, your knowledge, your passion with us today. Thanks, as always, to David in our control room for the great job he's doing. But before we let you guys go, if you wouldn't mind just letting the viewers and the listeners know where they can find you online if they want to continue the discussion. So starting off with yourself, Kristin.
On Facebook, just my name, On Instagram is at kstrats, STRATZ. And on Reddit, I am user Garrick's Fan Club.
Oh,
Wow. And over to you,
Thanks,
Richard. Where can the
Kristin.
viewers find you?
Facebook, it's my name as well. And on Instagram, it's Peripheral Hobbyist. That's IST. So
and
Thank
on
you.
Instagram, did you say Instagram? Did I miss that? X
I
Ransom?
did.
Okay.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that's the one where you want to follow for sure, listeners.
X Ransom is
So-
also another one too. I have two of them, but yeah, X Ransom, is the one that I normally post on for all my comics. So yes.
Yes.
Nice.
Thank you, Richard. And Bruce, what about you? Where can people get you?
Well, I'm on Facebook, Bruce Gibson. I'm on X, Admiral_Rex. I'm on Instagram is just Admiral Rex, no underscore. And I have to plug, and I'm occasionally on Positively Trek with Dan Gunther and Barry DeFord. Occasionally, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. And then I have to plug that this weekend is over, but next weekend, whatever Friday and Saturday night are, I'm in a sketch comedy show in Atlanta that I also the assistant director of, and we're performing at Limelight Theater in Atlanta Friday and Saturday night. Was that the 9th and the 10th? I think. But anyway,
Yeah, I think so.
if you want more information, it's sketchworkscomedy.com. Sketchworkscomedy.com. Come see the show and have a great 2 hours of fun and laughter.
Wonderful. Bruce, we could maybe get a link to that and put it in the comments here on YouTube if people want to find out more and how to get tickets or whatever. So yeah, send it over and we'll put it on.
Done.
Wonderful. Guys, thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
As always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Now, we would love to hear what you thought of today's show. Yes, this is one of our longest ones. Thank you for sticking with us. And if you'd like to continue, please join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, and like and subscribe. You see that little thumbs up? I want to do my thumbs up. Did you see when Richard did that, his thumbs up, and it showed up on his... I don't know how that happens, but like this video, subscribe here on YouTube so you'll never miss an episode of Viewscreen.
And if you would like to help support the network, please go to patreon.com/BQN and contribute to all of our great shows on the network by becoming a patron.
Well, Kelvin, what do we have next week?
Next week, we've got another packed show. We've got Chris Starts coming back with all of news and trending for the week. We are returning to the world of cosplay with Michael Guyon, and we've got special guest Giraffe over from Strange New Pod. We're going to interview her and find out all about her good self and the show Strange New Pod. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yes, it will. So that's all. Same time, same place next week. Thank you for watching the Viewscreen, and it's time to end our transmission. Bye.